Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I don't know where it is that you're tuned on to the Life Signatures Radio. This is a daily show where we talk about purpose, productivity, and resilience. God has given us the opportunity to consistently, daily, believe me, daily, just to share some of these things, some of these nuggets that are on my mind and on my heart and on my spirit, about purpose, about productivity, and about resilience. And sometimes we, in fact, for the most part, we do this, it's some kind of like a curriculum based. In other words, we approach this thing in a series. I don't just talk about one thing today and then tomorrow I talk about another thing and then the next day I talk about another thing. I'll be confusing you. I'm doing this in a concerted way in some kind of series every time we deploy series. And today we are continuing with another episode on the same series. We've been talking about stop blaming the education system. Today, let us see what else is there. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
So if I'm to do a recap for you, I will tell you that the standing out thing that is coming out from these episodes is this. Number one, the education system is not in a silo, as in it's not on its own. It is an end-to-end thing. Before it's like there's something before the education system if you're to organize them. Something before the education system if you're to organize them in a line. There's something before the education system. And then there's the education system itself. And even if the education system is there in the middle, there are things going on in society about it. And then there is the after of the education system. If you can visualize a line, if you draw a line in your book, draw a line, and then in that line you attach a block on the beginning, and then a block in the middle, and then a block at the end. So we've been talking about the middle block, which is, let's call it the education system. And people are bashing that education system, that middle block, not forgetting the fact that that middle block is not on its own. It is attached to the block in the beginning, and it's also attached to the block at the end. If you're going to change things, if you're going to start blaming something, you've got to blame the whole thing, because it's not alone. The education system is not alone. It is attached. And what we are seeing is that some people normally say things like, we talked about this previously, that the education system is outdated. They say that. And then yesterday we talked about this. They say the education system it produces people en masse. It's a mass production. It's like a manufacturing plant. It doesn't care. And we said yesterday that even in the place where you're saying it's mass producing, you realize that there's an opportunity for a doctor as much as there's an opportunity for a lawyer, and as much as there's an opportunity for a writer or a journalist and the other things and so on and so forth. But the problem that I see is the end block. You know what the end block is? That after education, society is expecting you to function in terms of a job title that has already been pre-identified. It is not expecting you to solve problems for the sake of solving problems. But you've got to have a job title, and you've got to be going to a particular building every morning at 8 o'clock and leave at 5. that's when we see that the education system is successful. We have not changed the system. Okay, we're trying to change the middle block, the system, but we're not changing the expectations of society. The big thing that needs to be changed is that expectation of society. When, for example, the president of a country stands and says arts are inferior to sciences, there's a problem of our expectations. If you're saying the arts are inferior to the sciences, why have you mixed them up? Why are you allowing arts to be studied? Why don't you ban the arts? Are you saying? I'm saying we can blame the education system all we want, and at the end of the day, some of the problem is not the education system, it is our expectations. It is us. In fact, the society itself probably hasn't even created avenues through which other things in the education system can be able to fit. We've created a dependency on the education system to produce people, and we've created a dependency on society from the education system itself. In other words, people in the education system are expecting society to give them jobs when they are through. Are you seeing that where the problem is? And all of us, basically we're expecting a job from it. But let me just continue and say this. One of the other reasons as to why people blame the education system is that they say it creates zombies. There are people who cannot think for themselves, people who cannot make recommendations and so on. Employers invariably get frustrated with the products of many education systems. And in the recent past, I've told you, the IBMs, the Apples, the Googles, and the Facebooks of this world, they announced that it's not a requirement for people to have a degree for them to be employed at those organizations. And several employers basically dread the day that they will hold interviews for prospective interviewees, prospective employers. It is like a task. It is a serious task, a humongous task to get the right fit. Why? It is because people think that the only thing they need to get employed is education. That's where the problem is. Refer back to point number 1, where we say that people normally say that the education system is outdated. It is not outdated per se. When you say it's outdated, no education system tells you that you are being educated so that you can be employed. That's what we said in point 1. It is not written anywhere that you should be employed after education. Let us just state it clearly. The purpose of education is not for you and me to get a job. Yesterday we talked about purpose for everything. If we are going into the education system with that kind of mentality, we have started on the wrong footing. We get educated so that we can learn to learn. We are basically given seeds to experiment with these seeds, to fly, wings to fly. The education system is not the flight. It is the means through which you can fly. It gives us the wings. We get educated so we can learn to learn, and we can fulfill our potential. There are some aspects of the education system that can be able to illuminate and empower our potential. So how we use what we've been given, what we've gained through the education system, is always going to be up to us. The education system is not the reward. It is not the flight. It is the wings to the flight. It is not the reward. It is a seed that, if planted and matures and germinates, can be able to give you the reward. It is a seed. Therefore, you cannot blame the education system entirely for producing zombies. From the same system that you're blaming for producing zombies, we have had wild changes. Those whom we've mentioned previously in the other episodes. There have been wild changes that have come out of it. In fact, interestingly, some of these wild changes, they did not finish the system. That just gives credence to my point that it's a seed. Zuckerberg did not finish his degree. Jobs didn't. Bill Gates didn't. And many other people. It is a seed. It's like it's like a torch that you use to illuminate where you're going. It is not an end in itself. So our problem is that we have conditioned all of us to treat this thing like it's an end in itself. And therefore we say it's creating zombies. It's creating zombies because that's what you're expecting out of them. If we treated this like it's just a seed, if we can use this seed appropriately, then... So what I'm saying is that as much as the education system has got its flaws, we are doing it wrongly to entirely blame it. When we entirely heap the blame on the education system, even though we try a gazillion times to overhaul it, to change it, and so on, it still operates in the same old society that has the same old expectations, that has not changed fundamentally to accommodate the new thing that you want. It will still be the same. Tomorrow we will come to a close of this series. But until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.